18th of February 2020. Italy has just been shut down by you-know-what, pretty much anticipating what would happen to the rest of the world in the span of a couple of months. To pass the time off, I start googling some of my old PS1 games, to take a trip down memory lane. Searching for Hogs of War on YouTube brings me to a video that blows my mind. Uploaded by a channel represented by a fancy blue hat. A remake of Hogs is being made. In full teenage sugar rush, I leave an unbelievably cringy comment, click on the Discord link, and join this mysterious dark grey void that we call a server. By pure coincidence, my entrance prompts Pinstripe, the famous blue hat guy, to make a specific role for fans of Suini Bellici, the team that appears only in the Italian version of the game, and that attracts the attention of a few fellow pasta eaters. In a few days, after a bit more cringiness, I receive a call for help by Mashetino, Italian player and retro game enjoyer. Other members of the community are organizing online matches using the newfound method of Parsec, but he needs help with his spoken English, which isn't really that polished, to put it lightly. A few random matches ensue, and in a couple months the recurring players get to know themselves more, so Pin decides to go for the gold. The very first Hogs of War competitive tournament. Hogs of War Rank Up, taking place on the 30th and 31st of May 2020, features 8 players in a single elimination bracket, with a simple set of rules to clean the game out of the main exploits known at the time. To those who know the Hogs of War competitive meta from today, a few of these details will probably sound borderline insane, like for example the first round being a best of 1, the absence of the pig pool, and even the absence of a limit for sappers and paratroopers you can bring on each map. But that just goes to show you how much 4 years can develop a game, really. Long story short, because this video is meant to be about League rather than Rank Up, the Austrian player Castor would emerge victorious in an epic first final beating me, ADB95, in 2 close maps. In the very first Discord call after that, I distinctly remember telling Castor, "Okay, this was way more fun than I ever hoped it would be. This game has incredible competitive potential." Pinstripe was clearly telepathically agreeing with me, because a few months later, on the 14th of August, I received a link for a new server from him. Thus, Hogs of War League was born. Laying the foundations for a tournament like this was not going to be easy, but Pin had a clear strategy in his mind. First, he came up with the weak system we still use today, where the 2 players of each match have 7 days to play whenever they want, as long as they both agree on the date and time and record it. Then Pin came up with a map rotation system, scrapping a few of the obviously broken ones, and finally recruited the 10 people that made up the final roster for Season 1. ADB95 and Mashetino from Italy, Castor from Austria, Iron Fox from Finland, Crumble from Wales, and Herpderp from USA all came back from Rank Up, with the British players Raging Gloony, Bobby, and Pinstripe himself, and the last edition of Axby94 from San Marino completing the mix. Oh, and also I gotta mention the very first video of this channel, the trailer for Season 1, which is kind of a mess for today's standards, but still pretty nostalgic, I guess.
Iron Fox here, ready to play for Finland.
Consisting of a single big group of 10, League 2020 still stands today as the tournament with the most amount of matches played, with a whopping total of 50. With 6 qualification spots available for the playoffs and top 2 being promoted directly to the semifinals, everyone was on the line to get a chance to qualify. And the first week, kicking off at the beginning of September, would already give us some juicy matchups. Iron Fox, Mashetino and Pinstripe felt no debut anxiety and quickly put themselves on top with clean 2-0 wins, while me and Castor had a chance to revive the Rank Up final in our first league match. I came on top on Bridge the Gap, first establishing my unexpected love for this map, but the opposite happened on One-Way System, where Castor simply dealt too much damage for me to have a say. Pig in Hell, the most barren map of the vanilla game, decided the match, and Castor took the win again, taking advantage from a few overthinkings of mine. Now that all the others are dealt with, we just have to talk about the very first match of League history, Raging Looney vs Bobby. The Sky Blue player started by taking an easy win on Graveyard Shift, and it was looking like Bobby would make it a 2-0 on Chill Hill. But a big highlight was just waiting to bless the first match in the history of this tournament. Chill Hill is an iconic map today, if anything because it has been played so many times. I personally consider it one of the figured out maps, where the relatively clear and established meta for early game, and a few unwritten rules to keep in mind for the rest of it. But let's talk about the relevant stuff. Chill Hill was for a long time the only competitive map with artilleries, an unbelievably powerful building with a stacked set of weapons and a whopping 200 HP at its disposal. On top of that, Chill Hill features dangerously placed minefields on a notoriously slippery map, and a number of really powerful crates, including, before they got patched out, a freeze gas and a later dropping airstrike, which would result to be devastating in many matches to come. I imagine the crate abundancy was meant to be a counter to artilleries, but they just end up making everything more chaotic. Usually the idea is to immediately jump into an artillery with a paratrooper and either strike down the other with an F-range shell, or go for a big hit with a 1000-pound shell. Turn 2 spawns an F-range airstrike crate, perfect opportunity for player 2 to retaliate with an artillery destruction of their own. Furthermore, a ton of pretty useful extra crates spawn in the middle of the map over time, prompting players to get closer to the artilleries to collect them. A dangerous move. Looney vs Bobby would have few of these principles applied, as the meta was understandably not developed yet and the artilleries would take a long time to be destroyed or even deal significant damage. Bobby pushed ahead with more consistent numbers throughout the game, but when in need to deal the final blow, he made a mistake, and gave Looney the opportunity to perform this clutch bazooka shot just enough to send Bobby's pig to his death.
Take this.
That's a hit.
Please go into mines or something. Please go into some mines or something.
Oh,
yes!
oh, there he is.
No! Yes! 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 Victory is mine!
Oh, God! 6 HP victory!
Looney then rode the momentum and took the win on the third map, Island Hopper, in what was a great start for the tournament and a great hype dispenser for viewers and other players. Week 2 opened up with another close match. Herpderp and I had started with a defeat and needed to bounce back. A bad performance had me getting thrashed on the lake, but I was able to recover after a solid Graveyard Shift and a tight Chill Hill, heavily shifted towards my side by the infamous airstrike drop that I was able to collect despite it falling in Herpderp's turn. The strongest players all kept their march, with Pin, Mashe, Fox and Castor speeding ahead. A special mention has to go to the match between Machetino and Axpy. Out of nowhere I decided I wanted to commentate it in Italian, being the first almost derby between two Italian-speaking players. I remember the match fondly, especially the tight ending on Ridgeback where Axpy almost took down the yellow silent ninja assassin, but made a crucial decision mistake right at the end. What I do not remember fondly is committing to painstakingly write 50 minutes of subtitles to let people know what the F I was talking about. And believe me, re-listening to the commentary today is a bit embarrassing. But hey, you improve with time, right? But, my brain just wrapped around itself right there, because... The third week saw the first few unbeaten players falling. Machetino's rampage run was stopped by Castor with a clean 2-0, while I, once again, would have a very tight match with Pinstripe. Game 1 was decided by the first ever big damage shrapnel throw, a 130 that Pin really needed to turn the game around.
Yeah, well, we're class grenade on this spy, so come on.
Yeah,
that's easy damage. Easy damage.
What? What did he just do? Oh
Whoa.
My god!
That was nice.
Oh my god!
Some tight poison games made a comeback possible on Ridgeback and P-Drag, the debut appearance of the very first modded map to be introduced in competitive. But we'll talk about that one later. The winning streak continued for Iron Fox, who took first place in the leaderboard with a clean 6-0 map record, with Castor in close second behind him. And then there was Bobby vs Axpy. The longest match in League history and the only one with cut footage due to how incredibly long map 2 Dam Busters ended up taking. Dam Busters is a map where the two contenders are separated by a gigantic wall, so high that from bottom to top, not even a standard jetpack can reach. After losing in map 1, Bobby took an early lead, but hesitated to close the gap, which slowly, yes, very slowly, gave Axpy a chance for a comeback. However, Bobby eventually managed to take the equalizer, and to top it off, bridge the gap was map 3, another notoriously long map, in which Bobby was able to overcome the strain once again and take his first league win. In week 4, the line between players who would qualify and those who wouldn't was becoming painfully clear. Crumble vs Herpderp, which was supposed to be a direct matchup for the qualification race, ended up with the American player securing a 2-0. Bobby was able to snatch a map to Mushatino due to an amazing double kill in the last turn of map 2.
Oh, okay, it should be enough this time. Oh, just about.
And he gets the kill!
What?
He gets the kill! I told you it would reach!
But the Italian player took the win later on Pig in Hell. Pin found victory once again by beating Looney, while I solidified my streak with the first normal match of my campaign, a 2-0 with Axpy. Which, by the way, was not normal at all because we had to stop the match in the middle of the second map due to connection issues on my side and then finish it off 4 days later relying on a save state on Mushatino's PC. But then, there was the clash everyone was waiting for. The only two players left, with no defeats so far, were about to face each other. Iron Fox and Castor. Fox's playstyle immediately emerged as different from the others, but kinda hard to even describe. My best effort would be efficient laziness. Fox's shooting technique was nothing crazy, but his relentless use of poison and solid decision making, even if exceedingly safe at times, made him a tough nut to crack. Castor, on the other hand, was a more creative player, focusing on always figuring out the best turn possible and maximizing control of both his and the other player's actions. These two natures came out on the first two maps, with Fox winning on Dam Busters with 2 scouts alive, and Castor making it 1-1 on New Hillock with a massive health advantage thanks to perfect turn executions in a very high damage inducing map. But nobody, and I mean nobody, was ready for what would happen in map 3. I'll be honest, it's hard to even believe we had this thing as a competitive map for a while. Island Hopper is covered for about 80% in water, and half of the islands are littered with minefields, leaving absolutely zero safe ground for positioning. On this map, any pig with any health is always killable. On the tactical side, the only slightly viable safe spot is the middle island, homing a 100 HP crate and a rocket launcher ×3. But even then, it's pretty easy to throw a pig down from there. Fox won the coin toss and went first with a very clever turn. He took the health and fired a second jetpack towards Castor's scout. In a way he could both damage him and land on a palm tree. The minefield did a lot of work for an overall 74 damage dealt with a single jetpack rocket. Actually, make that 140 damage instead, because Castor's scout would find himself stuck. A famous occurrence when a pig is forced to swim towards a place where minefield connects with water. Somehow no mine will trigger right away, but that's not a good thing, because it will trigger as soon as that pig dares to even turn around. In this situation, either you have a jetpack to leave without turning left or right, or the best thing to do is to give up the turn by damaging yourself to get out of limbo. Castor's retaliation was messy but effective. He placed the TNT with the intention of putting one of Fox's pigs in the same situation as his deceased scout, but failed to escape safely. However, he put his own pig in the mine water limbo, which triggered this interaction during Fox's next turn.
Oh no! This could be a double kill. He's still alive, but he doesn't have enough. Ledahos is down. Both players losing a pig.
After this crazy start, the two players would continue to trade blows pretty evenly until Fox's initial advantage came down to that 228 HP paratrooper, almost untouched, still using trees to protect himself against a single 39 HP grenadier. Fox kept true to his style, moving to another tree to fire a long-distance rocket launcher to finish it, instead of closing the gap with an easier shot. And this is where we first learned that rocket launchers are very unreliable.
But can he finish it here? Can he get the win with this shot from the rocket launcher? No, again, just a little bit too high.
But wait, even if Fox missed, how can an almost dead grenadier with no bridge to even get close to his enemy take down a pig with a massive health pool and in such an awkward position? Well, just take a look.
Where is this going to take us? It could bounce across the bridge. It could launch him in the air. He could go flying. Who knows? My goodness me. 140 health. He's swimming back to the island. Is he going to land in a mine? Could Castor have turned it around at the last second? The mine detonates. Castor wins. Oh my goodness me.
This shot for me is still to this day the best showcase of Castor's Hogs War skills. Let's go over the details. First, the angle. Castor knows from experience what's the lowest angle at which bouncing a grenade on water still works, so here is just a matter of using that knowledge to plan a bounce on the bridge instead. Then he also knows that detonating a cluster slightly below the target tends to produce a higher damage and knockback, because the grenade fragments are shot upwards after the first detonation, so they are closer to the pig on the second detonation, as opposed to a regular cluster shot, where the first grenade explodes at about the pig's feet. Then there's the luck of getting the AI behavior of swimming towards mines with the insta-kill triggering on the second one. Mine insta-kills work like this. When a pig is on half the health he had started the turn with, that pig explodes when he triggers a hidden mine. A mechanic likely added to avoid having to watch a pig bounce on big minefields forever. The only exception is what happens here with the first mine, as this interaction doesn't work when the pig triggers the mine while underwater. The second mine trigger area, however, was barely activated while in mid-air. So here the pig would have probably fallen in water again, but the game sees that tile has a mine and says... With this match, Castor solidified what everyone was already thinking. He was the hog to beat. Week 5 saw no big surprises despite a juicy lineup of matches. Castor was now full steaming ahead towards being the first to mathematically qualify, and Fox himself immediately bounced back by beating Herpderp in a nail-biting 2-1, albeit with an anticlimactic end on Skullduggery due to the map's infamous island spawns. Pinstripe beat Crumble, and I took the first actual Italian derby over Machetino in a match that unmistakably confirmed us that Island Hopper was not a good competitive map. Looney won the match with Axpy despite the player from San Marino taking the first ever 1 HP win on P-Drag. But Looney kept his cool, and thanks to this win, the British player could still hope to catch the playoff strain. Week 6 saw Crumble have the first win, again over Axpy, while Looney's comeback was unfortunately stopped by Machetino. I took another 3 points against Bobby, but the two biggest surprises were on the other 2 matches left. Castor took his first defeat against Herpderp. This match is mostly remembered for Herpderp's epic orderly comeback on a 1v4 on New Hillock. The rest of the match was heavily influenced by lag, but by Castor's own admission, even more by him tilting over it. Also remember that this is where we could only play via Parsec, which means that Herpderp himself was not only playing at a high level, but he was somehow doing that with a 200 ping input lag. How he managed is still mind-blowing to think about. The other big match of the week saw Iron Fox take Pinstripe on a gauntlet consisting of Square Off, The Lake, and Death Bowl. Square Off had Pin taking the lead, but...
So it's definitely a good time to... Oh no! He can't get back on it. He can't get back, but he's going to lose a lot of health.
On the contrary, Fox was looking like he'd finish it on the lake, but then Pin pulled off this shot on a 180 HP enemy.
But with one guided missile, so if he uses it correctly, it could be the death of Pin. But let's see here, it could be the death for Iron Fox as well. He'd probably go for the center. No, he doesn't. So it could be a kill. A 180 health kill. And it is a kill, guys. He decided to go for the right island at the wrong moment, and Pin equalizes.
And then finally, Fox took the win on Deathball with a lineup consisting of 5 paratroopers. Yes, 5 paratroopers, which with the help of a mistake by Pin allowed him to take all of the 4 100 HP crates on the map. Meaning this is what Pin saw on his screen at one point.
Disgusting!
With Week 7, matches were getting increasingly important. Looney and Herpderp were looking like the most likely candidates in the fight for the last playoff spot. Herpderp took the lead in the race by winning over Axpy in a tight but solid match. Meanwhile, Crumble got close to them with a win over Bobby. Looney found himself with a great opportunity after beating me in map 1 on Square Off. My inefficiency in this map and perhaps a bit of underpreparing created some avoidable mistakes. Ice Flow made it look like I had pulled myself together after map 1, but then came Dambusters, a map that Looney came painfully close to winning, but had to throw in due to his game crashing multiple times after failing and repeating the last turn over and over. After initially claiming victory in a half state of panic, I offered to give up the win to Looney, but he refused. Neither of us liked how the match had ended, but we were able to just brush the salt off and move on. Meanwhile, Castor got back on his feet by winning the old firm of Hogs of War against Pinstripe, in a moment that would go down as the double scoop, costing the win to the British player. To end the week, Machetino established himself as Fox's nemesis by obliterating him in a clean 2-0. In Week 8, we got our final 6 names for the playoffs. Castor's win over Axpy guaranteed him not only the top 2 spot to jump directly to semifinals, but also arithmetic certainty of first place in the regular season. Machetino, Pin, Fox and me were also already in, and Herpder finished the list and claimed the spot by beating Bobby, turning Raging Looney vs Crumble into a fruitless match in terms of qualification, but also an unexpectedly light-hearted and fun one to watch, finishing on Ridgeback with the very first tie and overall draw of league history. Gotta say, it was pretty wholesome to hear them have so much fun considering how unhappy me and Looney were at the end of our previous match. Back on the top side, crucial points for the second semi-final spot were still at stake. Pinstripe vs Machetino was solved very quickly by the Italian player. Masche was well known for being the first exploit hunter in competitive maps, and I remember the day he showed me the strategy he was planning to use. I felt kinda bad for Pin. Basically, Machetino had found out that on Duvet Fun, a lot of the enemy pig spawns were susceptible to being thrown out of the map with a simple TNT. As a result, he brought 5 sappers onto the field, and immediately devastated Pinstripe's team when he was already 1 map ahead. Needless to say, this was the match that inspired the 2 sappers rule, which would come into play immediately in the upcoming playoffs. In the meantime, I was about to face Iron Fox. I remember this match very clearly, because in my eyes I played so well that losing it felt very bad. Of course, now that I look back at it, I can say that thinking that was a bit of an exaggeration, but in the heat of the moment it was Frostfight mostly that made it so hard to swallow. Frostfight has a similar first turn gimmick as Chill Hill, where it is recommended to start with a paratrooper to grab one of the 2 guided missiles crates on the highest hills. The guided missile is a very high damage weapon, with a max of 75 and a, let's say, manageable difficulty of use. Moving this thing around can be awkward at first, but you'll get the hang of it once you learn that you have an entire 40 seconds before it explodes on its own, allowing you to loop it back in the air if you're having trouble controlling its high speed. But that's not all, because Frostfight is the map with the highest amount of relevant crates in it. For one, a now removed crate contains a cluster grenade, which as we know can do up to 105 damage, but also mines, jetpacks, airbursts, so lots of stuff to cook with. Grabbing as much as you can is not everything though, as another important mechanic to consider is how pigs drop their crates when they die, like for example using poison skips to steal them, or drowning a pig to prevent crate drops altogether. After the first map, Fox was down 1-0, but he started Frostfight very well. He took the advantage in numbers, but I had set up a couple of poison skips and still had a fair amount of weapons. So even when I was down 4v1 pig, I knew my scout still had a chance. Because when everyone on the enemy team is poisoned, it is possible to perform what I like to call a poison sweep. The idea is spreading the damage among enemy pigs while also poisoning them, so that in the end game you find yourself in a spot where you can chain multiple skips in a row to get chunks of damage and kills without ever letting the enemy move. Getting one skip at a high level is hard enough. Getting multiple in a row requires planning. In our case, the first planned skip was easy to set, but the second one unfortunately got lost due to an unlucky amount of extra water damage on the medic. Having him on 1 HP made it too easy for Fox to prevent the skip with a simple head jump, and as he poisoned me in turn, I was now on a timer. The third skip was the crucial one, to be performed on a 73 HP sapper. Tough, but I had a cluster, and I knew exactly how to make the right number happen.
And he's going to look to remove the sapper from the game. Or could he gain himself another turn? I think that's what he's looking to do as he overshoots it. But he needs to detonate it at the right time, which he does. Is it enough? Will it be a kill? Down to 2 health, which means he will gain another turn. And as expected, ADB turns this match on its head.
With 1 pig left in kill range, Fox did what he does best, and I'm not saying this as a joke. He ran away. Making his position a bit more awkward was crucial for his victory, because the weapon that had screwed him over against Castor decided to pay him back at just the right moment.
With a rocket launcher shot to the face, to the butt, the rocket goes... Oh, he's missed! Oh goodness me, ADB will be furious with himself over that one.
Fox now just needed to survive a couple more turns for my poison to tick me below skip range, and the miss allowed him to take a better position and to hide. At that point, the only way to win was to unhide him with a jetpack and rocket launcher him afterwards in the same turn. But when I went all in after a bit of game of cat and mouse, I would just come short of doing that. Map 3 on Hugh Hillock was also pretty tight, but was decided by me making a crucial decision mistake, perhaps still heated about Frostfight, and Fox was able to take the win in this incredible match. At this point, Week 9 was mostly just a preamble of the playoffs, with the fight for second place still taking most of the spotlight. The situation to make it directly to the semi-final looked quite complicated, but despite what had happened 1 week earlier, I was still barely ahead of Fox and Mache in the race on number of maps won. So beating Crumble 2-0 was all it took to make sure I'd take the ticket. Fox found this final match with Bobby surprisingly hard to win, with the Sky Blue team putting up an amazing performance on map 2, Bridge the Gap.
As it drops... Oh goodness me, gets a ton of damage! And the full damage as well, gets to 50.
But the Finnish mastermind still found victory eventually, thanks to his solid hedge maze and square off. Machetino claimed third place by beating Herpderp in an early Sunday morning match, while Pinstripe finished off in 5th place with a clean win over Axpy. Last but not least, Castor and Looney played a super chill match with zero competitive intent, considering both of them were playing for nothing on the leaderboard. And with that, the longest part was done. It was time to get serious with the playoffs.